All right, it's November 12th, 2020. We're, about a week out, 7 days or so from the election. No official call has been made as far as who the next president is. Joe Biden, who I think may be the devil himself, already went back against one of the promises he made in the first presidential debate. Chris Wallace asked Joe Biden, he said, "Hey man, do you promise to wait until the election is certified before you declare yourself a winner?" And Joe Biden said, "Absolutely yes. All the votes must be counted. I'm not going to do anything." But guess what? Joe Biden, the minute the media said that he had won the election, he came out and said, "I'm the president-elect. I won." So he lied right there in the first presidential debate, promised the American people something, and then, went back against it, So, all I can say is for the Kool-Aid drinkers, I'm praying that God will open up your eyes, man, and that the truth will somehow seep into your brains, man. But, what we got going on is a battle for seats of power. In the government of the United States, the seat of the presidency, the seats in the Senate, the seats in the House. But for that matter, there are seats of power everywhere in society and in the world. It isn't just in government. It's in industries like the pharmaceuticals, the military, education, judicial, so forth, energy. But there are people, some known, some unknown, that sit on seats of power. And therefore, they have influence over many people and over how our reality is shaped about us. But, like here in America, the right and the left, they're even though somebody wants us to hate each other and fight, have civil unrest, there's a lot we have in common, and it's more than just like our American values, but, everybody talks about change, and on both the left and the right, if anybody was actually serious about change, and I think the one guy that was serious about change was Donald Trump. He was trying to create what I'm going to call a level playing field, and I'll get into that in a second. But as far as Republicans and Democrats, the first big step to being truthful about wanting change would be to put in term limits on the seats of power, and neither side even brings it up or talks about it. And that's why we have corruption, that's just beyond understanding at this point within the government ranks. But, the same thing happens anywhere there's a seat of power. The longer you're in it, the more likely it'll be corrupted. And then even seats of power, in and of themselves, like it's weird how they transfer. We use the term peaceful transfer of power. Well, a lot of times seats of power are transferred in weird ways, like through bloodlines or through party affiliations or, particular ways of thinking, and have nothing to do with being maintained in a fair and balanced way that services mankind. But, we're at that crossroads as far as which way the country's going to go. And I'm going to tell you right now, Joe Biden has taken us back to Babylon. That's the path he's on. And he thinks it's a good thing, which is going back to the way, whatever, like lead from behind. I could talk for hours on that crap, going back to Babylon, where America doesn't lead the world. We're just part of the world, the Paris Accord, and, it's all about globalism and mankind. And in my view, my perspective, that path, Babylon, is trying to have an existence without God, which is why it is doomed for destruction. But just one last mention on seats of power. The one seat of power that is permanent and eternal is God's seat, God's throne. It's forever, it's everlasting. And that's the future. That's the path I'm on, man. I'm setting my sights on the heavenly things. And, even through Jesus, he sits on a seat of power, but he says, I'm going to share it with those that walk with me. And you have to think like Jesus, man. And he lays out how he wants you to think. He wants you to love God first and foremost, and then he wants you to love your brother. That's his 2 commandments. But, if you understand the scriptures, he's leading his flock towards the promised land where it's a level playing field, and God has established all the seats of power through his own anointing, even though, there's the phrase called the elect. And, you got to say, well, what is the elect? It sounds like people that are elected in an election. But, it's a heavenly election, and the only person that votes is God. God chooses you, man. But it's not, all of us choosing God, but he gives us that choice, and that's what brings the doom, is that if we as humans reject God, and, the sad news is that in general, humans have rejected God. And, here's kind of how it works. But, in the beginning, Adam chose the tree of knowledge. He rejected God, and he said, I'm going to go walk my own way. So God kicked him out of the garden where God was providing everything, and life was gravy, man. That's the existence we want. But when Adam and Eve went out of the garden, it was an existence of hardship, man. Toiling the ground for minimal results, not a life of abundance, man. So God was trying to show Adam and Eve that without me, life is hard. Life sucks. And, that's what most people don't understand about the world prior to Noah, is that for the most part, it was a barren, desolate world, a hard existence, man. And people were pretty much against God, because when he flooded out the world and took mankind off, he only saved Noah and his boatload of people. And it was mainly because Noah was like the one dude walking around still loving God with all his heart, mind, and soul, man. He was a one-man tower of power, for God. And he was part of the plan, against all odds, to move humanity to the next existence. But, God, what he did is he gave man the choice, hey, you can walk with me or walk without me. But, what's been happening for, probably at least since Jesus, but maybe since before, I don't know exactly when, but, it's that term, the level playing field. And we'd like to think that the world is a level playing field, but it really isn't, and, that's one thing Trump was trying to do, was level the playing field, like, putting tariffs on China, making elections fair, but the playing field, the reason why it's not level is because Satan is on the planet, and, he doesn't play fair, and man is, kind of evil too. Man is sinful to the core without the spark of God in him. So, I've been in the business world, and it's like, you got to be, they call them sharks, because man as a whole, as a society, is willing to take advantage of his fellow man, and that's why there just isn't a level playing field hardly found anywhere. And there's some sayings where it says, it says, well, why doesn't God, make sure it's a level playing field? Well, I think that's the dynamic that's soon upon us, because as it was in the beginning, so shall it be at the end. Where at the beginning, in the garden, it was a level field and it was beautiful, but outside the garden, it was a horrible existence in an unleveled field where, one person crushed another. And, if you understand the scriptures, there's a saying right now that is, hey, God gives rain to both the good and the bad, or the sun shines on both the good and the bad. So in that sense, God's providing a level playing field. But the problem is the bad takes advantage of it all. And that's why nothing is really fair. It's always the rich elites against the masses of poor people, They're taking advantage, because when you're in a seat of power and wealth brings power, you can take advantage of people. if you want to. But, as we march forward, the road back to Babylon that Biden has us on, that's a path where we have a world where the playing field will never be level. And Joe Biden is lying to you when he says he's going to do something about it, because he's bought and sold, and he'll sell his family name for a nickel. But God's going to bring that level playing field. And I'll just tell you one example is, that saying that it rains on both the good and the bad. Well, you know what? In the beginning, it did not rain on the bad. God kind of was saying, if you're not going to walk with me, life's going to be real hard for you. And that's kind of what's coming too, man, is as the nations are judged and God judges the nations, it says, man, that once he establishes his reign here, and, I got my own ideas of how that's going to be through God's elect, because they're going to be given extra additional powers, man, that are going to manifest real quickly. But it's not going to rain on the bad. Like it says right there in Revelations, like nations that don't bow down and worship and walk with God and come and respect him, it's not going to rain on them. They're going to have to live without rain. And, life without rain is going to be real hard. So, hey, America, man, meditate on that and, think about where we're at, man. And, that what Trump is doing, whether he stays our president or not, he's just trying to fix all the corruption and the manipulation that is making our elections unfair, man. Unfair. All right. Well, hey, I'm going to cut it there. God bless y'all. And, every day, man, the world is changing right in front of our eyes. God bless y'all.